Have you ever wondered if the most beautiful relationships start in the most unexpected places? What if the person who's been your rock, your comfort, was actually the one who could change everything for you? It all begins with something simple, ordinary friendship, but sometimes, just sometimes, it turns into something that defies all expectations. A love so deep it can only be built on trust, vulnerability, and taking that one leap of faith. Imagine risking everything to be with the person who makes your heart beat faster and realizing that in the end it was worth every moment. This is a story about how a friendship can transform into an unbelievable love, and why sometimes the most unexpected connections are the ones that last forever. Are you ready for the journey? It all began in the most unremarkable way, as most meaningful connections do. Alex, a shy and introverted college student, walked into a crowded campus cafe hoping to find a quiet corner to escape the chaos of the day. At the same table, Taylor, an outgoing and effortlessly charismatic individual, was already there, working on an assignment. Taylor's presence had a certain warmth to it, a vibe that seemed to draw people in without effort. Alex, not one to easily strike up conversations, sat at the corner of the table. The initial silence between them was only broken when Taylor, noticing Alex's quiet demeanor, decided to be the first to speak. "Hey, looks like we're both avoiding the chaos. Mind if I share this table?" Taylor's voice was genuine, a mixture of curiosity and friendliness. It wasn't the loud, attention-grabbing greeting Alex had expected, but it was simple and welcoming. As the days turned into weeks, they began to meet more often, almost by accident. A brief exchange of thoughts about classwork, a shared laugh over a silly story, and before they knew it, their paths crossed regularly. It wasn't anything special at first, just two people existing in the same space. But soon, those moments became a daily routine. They would meet at the same table, share a cup of coffee, and dive into conversations that stretched beyond academics. They learned about each other's childhood, passions, and fears, details that only close friends tend to reveal. Despite their differences, Alex and Taylor found an unexpected comfort in each other's company. It was an unspoken connection, built on mutual respect and the simplicity of being understood. And so, the foundation of an ordinary friendship was laid. Little did they know, this seemingly insignificant connection would become the most transformative relationship of their lives. Just when Alex thought life had settled into a comfortable rhythm, the universe threw a curveball. It started with a phone call late one night, the kind of call that chills you to your core. Alex's mother had fallen seriously ill, and the doctors were uncertain about her recovery. The weight of the news was unbearable, and suddenly, everything that once felt important seemed insignificant. Alex, usually reserved and self-reliant, found themselves spiraling in confusion and despair. The world felt suddenly heavy, as if the ground beneath them had crumbled away. Enter Taylor. Despite the growing distance Alex tried to create, Taylor was there. No questions asked, no hesitation. Taylor immediately dropped everything to be by Alex's side, offering support that went beyond what anyone could expect from a friend. They made sure Alex never had to be alone, even when words failed to bring comfort. Taylor was there, sitting quietly by Alex's side in hospital waiting rooms, driving to and from appointments, bringing food, and even helping organize small things at home. This was when Alex realized just how deep the bond had become. Taylor was no longer just a friend. They were a constant source of strength in the face of uncertainty. But what Alex didn't know was that Taylor too was battling a quiet storm of their own, keeping their own emotions in check while trying to be everything Alex needed. There were moments when Taylor's care felt like more than friendship, but they never said a word, not wanting to complicate things. As Alex watched Taylor stand by them through every dark moment, a flicker of something else began to form, something deeper than just friendship. Alex didn't want to admit it yet, but it was becoming undeniable. This was more than support, it was the beginning of something that would change everything. As the weeks passed, the weight of the situation began to shift, but so did the nature of Alex and Taylor's bond. Alex's mother, though still unwell, showed signs of improvement, and life began to regain some semblance of normalcy. But there was something else lingering in the air, an unspoken tension between Alex and Taylor that neither of them could quite ignore. What was once a simple, easy friendship had begun to change in subtle ways. Alex couldn't help but notice how Taylor had become more than just a comforting presence. Every smile, every kind gesture felt like it carried a weight of something more. The way Taylor would look at Alex, those fleeting moments of eye contact that lingered a bit longer than necessary, made Alex's heart race in a way they hadn't anticipated. The laughter they shared now seemed more intimate, and the casual touches, a hand on the shoulder, a friendly arm around the back, felt more meaningful. But what did it all mean for Alex? The line between friendship and something deeper was starting to blur. Their heart longed for something more, something beyond the platonic bond they had shared. But there was fear too, fear of ruining what they had, fear of making things awkward, of losing the connection they had worked so hard to build. Taylor, on the other hand, was wrestling with their own emotions, but in silence. They, too, had felt the shift. They had always cared for Alex, but now it felt different. Taylor's protective nature had taken on a new form, one that went beyond just being a friend. Taylor had tried to convince themselves that their feelings were just part of the friendship, that they were simply concerned about Alex's well-being, but the heart didn't lie. Still, neither spoke of it. There was a sense of vulnerability that neither was ready to expose. The air was thick with unspoken words, and the tension between them grew with each passing day, turning a once easy friendship into a delicate balance of emotions. Both were unsure of what came next, but what was certain was that they could no longer pretend that things were the same. The fear of change began to overshadow their once carefree connection, leaving both Alex and Taylor to wonder, could their friendship survive if they were honest about what they truly felt? One evening, as autumn's crisp air swept through the campus, Alex found themselves standing on the edge of a precipice, both physically and emotionally. It had been weeks since the tension between them and Taylor had reached its peak, and yet neither of them had spoken a word about it. The weight of unspoken feelings had grown unbearable, a constant ache in Alex's chest. Every conversation with Taylor felt like walking on a tightrope, balanced between the safety of friendship and the risk of falling into something more. Alex couldn't take it anymore. It was a quiet moment, just the two of them sitting on the steps outside the campus library, watching the golden leaves fall. Taylor, as usual, had their easygoing smile on, but Alex could see the flicker of uncertainty behind their eyes. It was then that Alex knew, if they didn't say something now, they might lose the chance forever. "Taylor, there's something I need to say," Alex began, their voice shaky, heart thudding in their chest. Taylor turned to face them, their expressions soft, but unreadable. Alex took a deep breath. "I don't know when it happened, but I feel like I'm starting to see you differently. It's more than friendship now, and I don't know what to do with it." The words hung in the air like fragile glass. Alex's heart raced, fear gripping them with a fierce intensity. What if Taylor didn't feel the same? What if they just laughed it off, or worse, pulled away? Taylor was silent for a long moment, their eyes fixed on Alex, and then, in a soft voice that carried a mix of vulnerability and honesty, Taylor replied, "I've been feeling the same way. I just didn't know if you'd ever feel the same. I didn't want to risk losing what we have." For the first time in weeks, Alex felt a wave of relief rush over them. The weight that had been pressing down on their chests seemed to lift. Taylor's words were exactly what Alex had feared and hoped for all at once. Confirmation that they weren't alone in their feelings. But now, the question was, what came next? The air between them was thick with emotion as they both sat there, processing what they had just confessed. There was no going back now. Their friendship, which had once felt like the safest place in the world, was now at a crossroads. They could no longer deny the growing pull towards something deeper, something more complicated. "I don't know where this will go, but I don't want to pretend anymore," Alex whispered. Taylor nodded, their eyes locking with Alex's, a silent agreement passing between them. The fear of change still lingered, but the desire to explore what lay beyond the boundaries of their friendship was stronger than the fear of the unknown. They had both taken a leap, and with it, the future was wide open, filled with both possibility and uncertainty. But for the first time, neither of them felt afraid. The risk had been worth it. The transition from friendship to love wasn't instantaneous, but it was inevitable. The shift had already happened, long before either Alex or Taylor had the courage to speak the words. The beauty of their relationship now lay in its evolution from the comfort of being just friends to the vulnerability of being something more. The transformation was slow, tender, and transformative, built on the foundation of trust, shared experiences, and the undeniable bond that had first drawn them together. As they walked through the days, hand in hand, Alex and Taylor found a new kind of rhythm in their connection. They no longer had to tiptoe around their feelings, and it was freeing. Every touch, every glance, no longer held the weight of fear or uncertainty. Instead, it carried a quiet confidence, an understanding that they were in this together, no longer just friends, but partners in every sense of the word. Their dates were simple but full of meaning: long walks through the city, late night talks on the porch, quiet moments spent cooking together in the kitchen, laughing over burnt toast. But what made these moments so significant wasn't the activities themselves, but the deep, unspoken bond they shared. They were no longer pretending to be just two people, casually hanging out. They were beginning to build something real, something lasting. But even as their connection deepened, the specter of their past as friends loomed. There were moments when one or the other would hesitate, unsure of how to navigate the complexities of their new dynamic. Could their love withstand the pressures that came with it? What if the past, what they had built as friends, couldn't sustain the weight of their romantic relationship? But with each passing day, those fears began to dissipate. Alex realized that the very things that had made their friendship so strong, the trust, the laughter, the understanding, were the same things that would make their love even stronger. They had already weathered storms together, and now they would face the future hand in hand, as a couple, but still as the best friends they had always been. One quiet evening, as they sat on the same steps where their confession had first occurred, Alex turned to Taylor, their hearts swelling with gratitude and love. "I never thought we'd get here," Alex said softly, their voice full of emotion. From that first coffee to everything that's happened, I didn't expect any of this. But I'm so glad it's you. Taylor's eyes sparkled with the same affection, their hand resting gently on Alex's. Me too, they whispered. We've come a long way, but I think this is only the beginning. And it wasn't the end of their journey, it was the beginning of a new chapter. One that had begun with an ordinary friendship and evolved into an extraordinary love. They had crossed the line from friends to lovers, but what they had gained was so much more than a romantic relationship. It was a partnership built on the strongest foundation, trust, respect, and the deep connection they had cultivated over time. They had risked everything for something they didn't fully understand, and in doing so, they had found a love more unbelievable than either could have imagined. And as they looked ahead, they knew that whatever challenges lay in their path, they would face them together because the bond they had built was unbreakable. Forged in the fires of vulnerability, honesty, and love. It was a love that had come from the most unexpected of places and, in the end, it turned out to be the most beautiful thing either of them had ever known. Remember, the most incredible relationships often begin in the simplest moments. If you're willing to take a leap, trust in what feels right, and be vulnerable, you might just discover a love more extraordinary than you ever imagined. So, take that step because the best chapters of your life are waiting to be written. Don't be afraid to make the leap. Your story is just beginning.